Hello everyone, welcome back to Anmoll Astrology channel. Now this video is going to be the last part of Pushkara Navamsa. So if you guys remember, I have shared, I'll just quickly share my screen. So I've shared 3 particular charts with all of you, right? So as to how to judge a Pushkara Navamsa. We first discussed about the elements, about which element is going where, according to which all the changes that we are going to experience is how those changes are going to be pushkara or beneficial for an individual, right? Now the last part is about the nakshatra and the pada of a particular nakshatra. Okay, so whenever, now this is the table, okay, so whenever a person has a planet in the nakshatras of sun, okay, since the sun nakshatras are half in the fire sign and half in the earth sign, right? So the first pada of the sun nakshatras are Kritika, Uttara Falguni, and Uttara Ashar. So if your planet is in the first pada of any of these 3 nakshatras, that means it is going to go into Pushkara Navamsa. Okay, and if it is in the 4th pada of these nakshatras, then again it means that it is going to go into Pushkara Navamsa. The only change will be that since it is sun, I have actually drawn a line in between because the first pada of the sun's nakshatra is in the fire sign and the rest 3 padas are in the earth signs. Okay, so if it's first pada, if your planet is in the first pada, then it is going to go from the fire element to the fire element in Sagittarius. So suppose, for example, if you have Jupiter in the first pada of Kritika or first pada of Uttara Falguni or first pada of Uttara Ashar, that means this particular Jupiter is either in the sign of Aries or in the sign of Leo or in the sign of Sagittarius. Ultimately, it is going to go in the sign of Sagittarius. And if it is specifically in the first pada of Uttara Ashar, then it is going to go Vargotama, which is one more, advantageous factor. Now this Jupiter is basically going to be Vargotama, plus this Jupiter is going to be Pushkara as well. So now there is no element change. It is going from fire to fire. So we did discuss about the element, element relationships. Like 1, 5, 9 has good relationships altogether because these are trikonas, right? So going from Aries to Leo is a positive placement, going from Aries to Sagittarius is a positive placement, and going from Aries to Aries, that is also good placement. So now we took an example of Jupiter here. So you can see if you have that Jupiter in the first pada of supposedly Uttara Ashar, this Jupiter is Vargotama and this Jupiter is also Pushkara. Now, such an individual is actually going to be able to have a fortune throughout life. These people are very fortunate. These people are very philosophical. They are very good with their knowledge. They'll be very presentable with their knowledge, and they'll be very fine with whatever they are doing in fields of knowledge. Such a person can be an astrologer, such a person can be a highly educated person, a lecturer, a person at a very good position. And the other thing is, since Jupiter is about optimism and the sign of Sagittarius is also about optimism, so being Vargotama, being Pushkara means that these people will be able to carry forward their morals throughout their life. Okay, so that particular thing is going to be good for them. And if it is in the chart of a female, since Jupiter represents the husband for a female, this means that you're going to get a very good husband. But of course, the husband is going to be very philosophical and fiery in nature. But it simply tells you that you are able to carry forward your dharmic content of that particular planet. You are able to put that particular planet in that fire. Okay, so planets, the fiery planets actually do well with when they are going Pushkara in the sun nakshatras. Like for example, sun itself is going to do well if it is in the first pada of Pushkara, first pada of sun's nakshatra, and it will be going into the Sagittarius sign only, right? So sun does well, Mars does well, Jupiter does very well. So these fiery planets basically are extremely good within this particular placement. Okay. Now, second thing is that if a particular planet is in the fourth pada of either Kritika, Uttra Falguni, or Uttarashad, that means now you here have earth element. It is going to be either be Taurus, Capricorn, or Virgo. Right? Now you are going to go into Pisces, which is a water sign. Now, here Mercury gets debilitated, right? So we are going to take the example of Mercury so as to better understand it. Now, in the sign of Pisces, Mercury gets debilitated. So suppose you have Mercury in the fourth pada of Kritika, or you have Mercury in fourth pada of Uttra Falguni, or you have Mercury in fourth pada of Uttara Ashar. This particular Mercury is actually going to go from an earthy placement to a water placement, and of course, it is going to get debilitated, right? So we'll take an example of Uttara Falguni because basically it is exalted in the sign of Virgo. So Mercury is now going from an exaltation position to a debilitated position, right? Many of the people would think that this is not a good placement. This is not, a placement to cherish. Right. But, I actually wanted to make a video, and I might make it very soon, about what is the importance of Mercury, because after looking at so many charts, after studying astrology for such a while now, I've understood how Mercury is a very underrated yet very important planet. You would know a lot of things about a person's nature by their Mercury placement. How accurate a person is, how calculative a person is, how observant a person is, how responsible a person is. Everything is actually dependent on Mercury. So, let's see the practical side of life. You don't want to have a very strong Mercury to go in a relationship. Why? Because if you have a very strong Mercury, you'll be more onto that critical side. You'll be more onto that business type of, negotiation with the particular partner. But if you have a debilitated Mercury, it actually helps you with a lot of things. So there are some areas where debilitated Mercury is actually very helpful. And where is that so? Suppose you are into a profession like where you require peace isolation. Like if you are a doctor, if you are a designer, software designer, architect, or anything like that, then you need to have debilitated Mercury actually more than exalted Mercury. Exalted Mercury is much useful whenever you are into a profession which is similar to statistics, which requires numbers, which requires business, right? And when we talk about relationships, since we are talking about Navamsa here, see, exalted Mercury means you're going to be too involved within the marriage. You're going to be too considerate of each and everything within the marriage. And definitely you can pick any chart. See, if a person has exalted Mercury in the Navamsha, you'll see those particular two people, whomsoever that person is married to, they're always going to have a very negotiable, relationship with the other person. That means they are going to be very calculative. Those are going to be two people into a partnership which is very equivalent to each other. There's not that the particular person with exalted Mercury is not that much sacrificial, although Virgo is about being sacrifice, being at service to person. But it's like Virgo always requires the other person to reciprocate that. Okay, so it's like two people who are very equally contributing within the marriage. But what if you don't get a partner who is able, or who is confirming to that situation that they want to invest equally in the partnership? Okay, so that's why there are lots of technicalities when we come to compatibility, when we come to relationship. But on a whole, I'm just trying to say that neither exalted Mercury is the best, nor debilitated Mercury is the worst. Okay, not just Mercury, any planet. You just need to understand the situation, and you need to see where this particular placement is being applied. Okay, so now if a person has exalted Mercury first and then they are going into Pisces, that means that this person has dealt with a lot of financial situations in their life. Their life would have been about looking after the debts, the litigations, every legal thing, arguments, fights, and money problems, money management skills within their life. But now they have been into life where they are more into spirituality, they are more into imaginative world, they are more into travel, they are more into, in their own world, you can say. So they just lose their sense of being too careful into things, too careful in their life. Okay, so you'll always see actually what happens if you have a debilitated Mercury, and if it is not being hampered by other planets, you can actually have that sense of spirituality within you. You can actually have a very, very good imagination, because I don't remember the exact name of the novelist, but you'll see maximum people who are into story writing, storytelling, who are novelists, who are writers, they have debilitated Mercury. Okay, so this was one example I would have given. So, now from an earth element, from a very stable ground, a person is going into water, more into emotions, more into the, the emotional side of life. Okay. So now next will be if your planet is in the second pada of moon's nakshatra, which is Rohini, Hasta, and Shravana. So if you have a planet in the second pada of moon nakshatras, you know that your planet is going to Pushkara Navamsa, and it is going to the sign of Taurus. So if suppose Rohini is in the sign of Taurus, Hasta is in the sign of Virgo, Shravana is in the sign of Capricorn. So you are going from the earth sign to the other earth sign. If suppose you have moon in Rohini, right, second pada, that means that you are going to have an exalted moon plus Vargotama moon plus Pushkara Navamsa moon. So such an individual is very, very strong emotionally. Emotionally, these people have true sense of how to balance their life. Because what is moon in the sign of Taurus? Moon in the sign of Taurus is about being practical about the life situations, having a good lifestyle. They'll always go for the finer things. Suppose I have to buy A option, which is expensive, but it is a single product. And then the B option, which is not very expensive, which is inexpensive, but I'm getting 3 products there. So the sign of Taurus, a person with Taurus influence will go for that A product which is expensive and finer in the quality, but it is just a single product. So that's how they style their particular lifestyle. So it's all about creating good stability for future. They are very homely people also. They look for the family. They are very close to the family. They are very good with the finances. They always try to have more liquid money and have good stable money, good retirement plans, and all of that stuff. So this moon actually, it also gives you good amount of money in life. It gives you fortune, it gives you comfort, but it also gives you the sense of strength with your emotions. So the emotions are fully intact, controlled by an individual. They just look towards the practical approach of life. Okay, there could be some other planet also within this particular pada of these nakshatras that is also going to behave similarly. Even if you have Jupiter, because Jupiter is debilitated in the sign of Capricorn. Now, you know, if you have Jupiter in the second pada, in the nakshatra of Shravana, it is going to go into Taurus Navamsa, but it is going to be Pushkara. So it means that after going through very negative situations of life, because, you know, debilitated Jupiter simply means that a person has to go through negative situations in life, such situations where they can't just feel hopeful, they can't just feel optimistic, right? Because of that, these people become a little bit pessimistic, you can say. Not a little, actually very pessimistic. They become orthodox. They have certain boundaries within their, you know, morals, within their thinking pattern, within their belief system. Okay, so that's why from a very negative Jupiter, this person is going to find a fair balance. I won't say it is going to be very good, but because of the Pushkara Navamsa effect, they are going to find a fair balance between their morals. Since Jupiter is also about your management skills, it is also about strategies. You'll develop those particular strategies over time. You'll develop that sense of strategies. But yes, since Jupiter is the planet which rules the husband, which is the karka of husband for an individual, you will get if you are a female, you will get a very, very dominating individual, a very dominating, a little orthodox and negative kind of spouse for yourself. Okay, so it is going to be a little hard, but still, because of the earth element, a little understanding it would be required so as to balance the situation. Okay, now the third one is if the planets are in Jupiter's nakshatra, Punarvasu, Vishakha, and Purva Bhadrapada. So I've drawn this line. That means the first three padas of each of these nakshatras are in the air signs, and the last one is in the water sign. So now if any planet goes into the second pada of Punarvasu, Vishakha, or Purva Bhadrapada, it is going to go into Taurus Navamsa, which is from air, it is going to go into earth. If it is in the fourth pada, it is going to go from water to water, which is in the sign of Cancer. So it is going to be exalted. Sorry, not exalted. So it is going to have a similar situation. Like suppose you have Jupiter in Punarvasu fourth pada, Jupiter in Vishakha fourth pada, which is going to go from Scorpio to Cancer, or Purva Bhadrapada from Pisces to Cancer. So now you know that this particular Jupiter, if suppose this Jupiter is in Punarvasu, you know this particular Jupiter is going from Cancer to Cancer. Now this is a Pushkara Navamsa, this is a Vargotama planet, and it is exalted as well because of Jupiter. Now, do not think that this is the best placement. Very similar to Jupiter being in the first pada of Uttara Ashad. It is very similar to that, but the nature is very, very different. The nature and the predictive technique of this particular planet is going to be very, very different, because here with Jupiter, that Jupiter is going to be, the fire one is going to be more about dharma, more about you imposing you don't have to look for other person, you don't have to sacrifice for other person, you just have to put forward your dharma, your knowledge, your skills, right? But here there's lot of sacrifice I've seen with people having Jupiter in Punarvasu second pada when they go into Cancer. Although these people are fortunate in their life, anyhow their life gets balanced, even though they are at the at the deepest of hole of their life, at the deepest of level of their life, they are going to rise back. But they are always going to have that fluctuations. Sometimes it is going to be good, sometimes it is going to be bad, but it is going to be on extreme levels. Mostly I've seen exalted Jupiter, people have to sacrifice a lot in their life, and their life is actually confined into home and home responsibilities and stuff like that. It's very hard for such an individual to pursue their career completely, or to basically excel in their life at a this kind of graph. So it's like this for them, this, right? So that is the situation. Okay, so if suppose some planet is in the second pada of Jupiter's nakshatra, it is going to go from the air sign to the sign of Taurus, which is the earth element. Now, this is a well-to-do placement, I would say. Any planet would be willing to do well here, because whenever a person has planets in air signs, it's more experimentative, it's more exploring. So you'll see all the a person with actually air sign planets, most from mainly the main planets, if a person has in the sign in a air signs, this person is very curious individual, and they're totally about experiments. They never just sit ideal, they'll never just suppose they felt, or they had some losses in their life, they're never going to stay over there, they're always going to work hard, they're always going to look for different opportunities. So from this you may understand, like, take any planet, take moon in the second pada of Punarvasu, Vishakha or Purva Bhadrapada, take Venus, take any planet. Okay, so this particular individual is actually going to choose, take Mercury. Okay, so if suppose Mercury is in this particular nakshatra and particular pada, this person is very curious, this person is trying n number of professions, they just don't have one interest, they have 4 5 6 interests, and maybe 4 5 6 mediums from which they are trying to earn money. So what happens initially in their years, till 33, 35, these people actually go for different options within their career or anything, whomsoever, whichever house this particular placement is connected to. You just need to look for the houses. And then you'll see that these people come to that situation where they get more stable in life. So being from a wandering, human being, now they are at a very stable position. So you see those individuals who work hard, who work really, really hard so as to get stable income in their life, so as to get at a position where they are, you see young entrepreneurs who are doing work at a very, very small age and are earning rupees and crores, at a very young age. Those people can have, I think these people actually have such placements. Okay. Next is Venus. If you have any planet in the nakshatras of Venus, third pada, which is Bharani, Purva Falguni, Purva Ashad, it goes into the sign of Libra in the Navamsa, and it's Pushkara. Okay, so whichever that planet is particularly blessed. So what happens going from a fire element to air element means initially they were all over the place. Like they just want to do this, get into the situation. They just react first, think later. But since they are going to go into air Navamsha, now they'll become more considerate about situations. They'll think more, because air signs always think a lot before taking an action. They might just say a lot of things, but when it's about taking an action, they'll think all the pros and cons, they'll evaluate all the pros and cons, and then take a decision. So if a person has Venus here, a person might get into relationships very, very quickly. But when it is about getting that particular relationship into a marriage, they are going to think a lot. These are those people who commit very easily, but when it's about getting married, these people are actually going to try to ghost you, try to weigh all the pros and cons, that whether they should go for the marriage or not. So this thing can be there. And if it is, suppose, planets like moon, it is going to be about the emotional situation. If it's about Saturn, it is going to be like Saturn. Saturn does extremely well in the air signs. So initially within the fire sign, Saturn can be a little not very compromising, not very good, because Saturn in fire signs doesn't do good. Okay, it's more about just they're very rift people. So the service part, the negotiable part of Saturn doesn't apply here. Okay, so that means that after going through all that obstacles that a fire Saturn has created for them, because of their impulsive behavior, because of their non-committal behavior, they will actually have a Saturn who is more negotiable now, who is understanding more about negotiations, about adjustments, about compromises. Okay. So then now we have the nakshatras of Saturn. If any planet is in the second pada of the nakshatra of Pushya, Anuradha, or Uttarabhadrapada, this particular person's planet is going to go into the sign of Virgo. So suppose it's Mercury. Mercury is in Pushya. Second pada, it is going to go into Virgo, Navamsha. It is going to get exalted there. Okay, so now you'll actually, the basic sense of a planet being in the nakshatras of Saturn, second pada, okay, because it is in the water sign, this means a person is carrying a lot of baggage here. But this baggage is actually defined if it is in the second pada of these particular nakshatras. If a person has moon in this, so that means, suppose moon is in Pushya in the second pada. That means a person is very, very emotional, over giver, over caring, loses the sense of self in the form just to nourish other people, just to look after them, But then throughout their life, with the experiences and challenges, this particular person is going to be very straightforward. Now they are no more the crybabies. Now they are no more the overgivers. They are very, very particular with how much emotions they need to invest within the other person. So they are not they're not letting people take their advantage anymore. Okay, so that's about it, right? Now, the last one is the nakshatras of Rahu. Okay, so nakshatras of Rahu fall into air signs, Ardra, Swati, Sattavishak. So if you have planets in the fourth pada of Ardra, Swati, or Sattavishak, you are going to go into the sign of Pisces. Now here, Venus gets exalted. Okay, so suppose you have Venus in Ardra. To be honest, very difficult placement for Venus to be in. Okay, I've seen Venus with Ardra Nakshatra. In Ardra Nakshatra, although these people are mostly in some technical kind of profession, mostly I've seen IT engineers, software developers with Venus in Ardra. But you'll see that they go through so many struggles in relationships. So many struggles in relationships. They are so experimentative. Their life has been all about experimenting, about knowing people, about knowing things, you know. So from that, they are actually, you can see that from being a very experimentative Casanova kind of a person, these people are going to be a very, very devoted spouse. First, they are going to be all about experiment, all about communication, flirting, all of that youthful behavior. But then they are going to be into a situation where they are totally devoted within their marriage, because they are going from since we are taking example of Venus and Ardra, they are going from the air sign of Gemini to the water sign of Pisces. Although exalted Venus has its own advantages and disadvantages, but it's about the maximum amount of devotion for an individual. So then they are totally devoted within the marriage. They are rather than curious, they are about now imagining their future, planning their future spiritually, physically, financially with the person they are with. Okay, so that's, I have given you examples of each and every category. I hope these examples are useful for you to understand basically where I am speaking from, because you need to know this, that astrology is actually about clicking. It's about realizing that what is the combination. It's not just, never take it like Venus in, suppose the sign of Libra is going to do this, is going to do that. Never learn it like that. Just understand the elements of the planet, of the zodiac sign, and the change which is happening. See, if you are a beginner of astrology, then just go for what does the planet means, what is the tattva of that planet, what it originally represents, and the tattva of the zodiac sign. By tattva, I mean element and the understanding of the element. You just need to connect both of them. And things like Pushkara Navamsa, Vargotama planet, and Navamsa, basically, these are actually the deeper side of astrology. So in that, you only need to see what is the change. What element changes there? What planetary changes there? What house changes there? Okay. This way you can add up the predictions, and it's always 1 + 1 + 1. It's never either or in astrology. Okay, guys. So I hope this video is going to be helpful for you people. This was the very last part of Pushkara Navamsa. By the end of this video, I hope you will have all the knowledge you require for Pushkara Navamsa. I think I have posted about more than 4 videos. This might be the 5th, 6th video, I suppose. So these videos are very important if you want to learn Pushkara Navamsa, right? I hope you'll be clear after this. Okay, guys, if you guys are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you guys would like to have your personal readings from me, you can check out the link below, www.anmollastrology.com. And under the reading section, it's actually consultation section, you can book a personal reading for yourself. If you are a learner of astrology and if you want to know, go deeper into the educational part of your own chart, then you can go for unique readings. Okay, and that's under the unique reading section. Okay, guys, meet you next time with a new video. Bye bye, take care.